Lawson.
Hi, everybody. How are you?
Now, I don't know if you guys got to see the flyer, but the flyer tells that we are going to be discussing anxious thoughts, how having depression and anxiety can really steal a lot of your joy and make you miss precious moments in life. And I'm sure that many of you can relate to that because we have all experienced depression and anxiety at some point.
Absolutely.
And we're going to really hit on how anxiety and depression affects our dating life,
Yep.
how open we can be about the people we're dating, our family, our friends, and do people really want to deal with people that's going through something like that?
Right.
So, Mila, first of all, tell us a little bit, if you don't mind, just about where you're from and what you do for a living, your age. Are
Okay.
you single? Do you have children?
Yeah, absolutely. So, hi, everybody. I'm Mila. If you're on Facebook, nice to meet you. If you're on Instagram, obviously you know that. I'm from DC, PG area. I'm 27. I am single. I do not have children. I'm a brand strategist by trade, so I help people build their businesses or rebrand their businesses. And I've known Rose since I was very, very young. So this is my big sister, and I'm, happy to be here, of course.
Well, thank you for coming. I know you are so very busy. Now, I don't waste any time jumping right in, guys. So, first of all, Mila, the first thing I want to know is have you ever experienced, anxious thoughts or depression or anxiety?
Yeah. So anxiety, I started to recognize that I was suffering, and I say not like experiencing a moment of it, but suffering from anxiety around 2018 when I moved to Chicago. So I said I'm from here. I moved to New York, ended up in Chicago, and that's when I realized like, oh, something is wrong here. I'm on edge all the time. This is abnormal. Depression, not as much like I'm sad, I can't get out of the bed, but that type of anxiety feeling where I literally can't breathe and I can't calm myself down, that started for me around 2018.
Wow. Okay, so what was like one of the signs that let you know you were having the issue? Like, give me one situation that stands out, a brief synopsis of that.
So I feel anxiety in my throat. I don't know if anyone else can relate to that, but maybe your chest gets tight. A few years ago, I think I was maybe interested in somebody, and I thought maybe they were thinking negative thoughts about me. We had an awkward interaction, and I could not calm myself down. My throat was I was in so much pain. Physically, I was like, okay, this is abnormal. Like my physical response to this emotional feeling is abnormal. That's where it came from.
Okay, I got you. So that's just a little bit about, so people can kind of start to see some of these signs
Yep.
and things like that. And you know what really interests me when you say that you have anxious thoughts and you go through depression? A lot of people do this and they do it in silence.
Yep.
I think that a lot of people, especially guys, go through it and they do not even say anything, even to their male friends. And my thing is, I'm glad that you discussed someone that you were dating.
Yep.
Because my question is, let's say you guys are dating.
Yep.
How do you tell somebody that you're dating and, as you guys are progressing, is that a conversation that you have with them?
Absolutely. It has to be because the thing is, anxious thoughts, depression, they don't hide themselves well. Like, we can try to conceal it, but it's going to come out in your attitude. It's going to come out in your behavior. It's going to come out in ways where you're just unpleasant to be around and you can't figure out, like, why about me is annoying. It's 9 times out of 10, it's my anxiety showing up, and and they can start to tell. So you won't have that conversation because you're not going to be able to hide it. You're not going to be able to keep that from nobody.
Yeah, so this is my thing. Once you do have a conversation with somebody, and audience, we do want to hear from you guys. Once you do have a conversation with someone you're dating about that, sometimes they might not have the kind of response that you expect.
Absolutely.
I mean, have you ever said that to somebody that you were dating, like had this conversation?
Yes, absolutely. So again, thinking of a dating relationship over the summer, this is somebody I've known for forever. They're transparent with me about their mental health struggles, and I'm transparent with mine. And they're like, okay, I can tell your anxiety is flaring up. I don't have the capacity to deal with it. I don't. I love you, but I can't do this. And that can definitely be harmful. That can be, something that hurts you because you're like, well, I was open and honest with you and you rejected me. But the thing is, bro, like how you just said, you can get an unfavorable response. People have the choice of whether or not they want to interact with you. You don't get to dictate that. You don't get to manipulate that. You don't get to convince people by how much you do for them to stick around. If they choose not, you have to respect it. Point blank, period.
I understand that. It is just so interesting to me with the everybody wants to talk about love and relationships.
Yeah.
It is one of our hottest topics.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of people that are in relationships and they aren't really thriving.
Right.
It's like a lack of the best.
Yeah.
They may be making it through. I have seen people that are married and dating, for over a decade, and they are just floating through.
Yes.
And my thing is, that's just not the way love should be.
No, that's not the way life should be either.
A lot of people don't speak up about what they're really feeling. Oh, you might go to your boys or you go to your girls and be like, he really gets on my nerves.
Yes.
When he does that, I cringe. When he does that, instead of being able to talk to your significant other, and that's supposed to be your best friend, about what's going on.
Yeah, because people don't want to tell the truth. That's really what it is.
It's unrealistic. Now, question. How do you feel about people taking medication for anxiety and depression, or do you feel like it can be dealt with in a natural way?
No. If you need medication, go get medication. If you have a broken leg, you're not gonna walk around and be like, I could just pull my leg together I could tape it. No, you need to go to the doctor. And if the doctor prescribes you, we got to do surgery. They have a whole treatment plan. If a part of your treatment plan for dealing with your mental health includes medicine, then praise God for that medicine. Why would you deny it? Do what you have to do to be able to maintain a healthy lifestyle. That's the point, to really thrive. If you need that to be healthy.
Right. Have you ever had to take medication?
No. Last year I got diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder. Again, I told y'all I was not able to calm myself down. And the first treatment plan that I was offered was like, okay, we're going to be in therapy and we're going to work at it. We're going to address it, which means you need to be honest and you need to take responsibility for yourself. Part of taking responsibility for yourself is going to counseling, meeting with them regularly, and being honest about, okay, this is really what I'm feeling. This is what I'm really afraid of. When he says no, when he doesn't text back quick enough, I feel rejected and I go into this whole frenzy and none of it's true. I lie to myself, I act out to him, and it makes me a pain to be around. So my treatment plan specifically was not medication. It was like, we can treat this. I can actually help you reframe your thoughts. I can help you calm down, but you're going to have to be committed to the process.
I got you. So what does that look like for you? How often do you have to go to therapy?
I was in therapy for a full year from July to June, middle of June. Every Tuesday, met with a therapist, and she really taught me how to reframe my thoughts. So if your nervous system is shocked because as a kid you had all this trauma experience and now it's presenting itself in your adult relationships, it's presenting itself in your romantic relationships, they're like, okay, you're talking about the surface level. Why do you feel rejected when people don't text you back? Why do you feel afraid when when you start to feel embarrassed? Why do you feel unloved? Where are you getting these thoughts from? And then you start recalling instances from childhood where you're like, well, when I got this thing wrong, my teacher told me this, so now I assume everybody feels that way about me. And I especially prescribe that to relationships I really want, which is why it shows up in my romantic relationships.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. I know sometimes we talked about, you said something earlier that I like, the love attachment style.
Yeah.
A lot of people do not understand it. That's big girl talk right there.
Yes.
I know people that are 60 years old that do not know what love attachment styles are.
Yes, ma'am.
So we have love attachment styles.
Yeah.
Your I believe there are 4 different love attachment styles.
Yeah.
Your love attachment styles are avoidant love attachment styles,
anxious, disorganized, and fearful.
And listen, these attachment styles are so important to know because first of all, I just want to say this before we start defining what the love attachment styles are. The love attachment styles are not your fault. When you are initially going into this and you're just starting to dig into the information about yourself and what kind of attachment style you have, it's not your fault.
Right.
These things are constructed when you are a child. Yep. And they grow old with you if you don't attend to them. And most of the time, things like what happened to you,
yep.
Like not being able to calm yourself down or clear symptoms, of a lack of peace, kind of forces you to look into these things.
Yes.
And it is so interesting because a lot of people that I talk to about their love attachment styles, once you have this knowledge, relationships last longer.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Relationships last a lot longer because you're more empathetic with what this person is going through.
And you're more aware of yourself. You're more aware of how you show up in relationships, how to communicate what you need, and how to be like, oh my God, I'm acting out. I'm sorry. I understand that. For real,
you said acting out.
You start acting for real because it's like, okay, as an, I realize I'm an anxious avoidant person. I mean, I have an anxious attachment style. So when I start acting like a baby, it's like, oh my God, I just was feeling rejected. That's why I started being so needy. I'm sorry, I did not mean to be so. You can go ahead and hang out with your friends. I am my bad. And that preserves relationships. You being able to tell the truth and take ownership of what you're doing wrong. Because women, we love to tell men all what they're doing wrong 24/7. But that attachment style, when we recognize that, it's like, okay, it's two adults in this relationship. It's not me and my baby.
It is so interesting though because it's like how do you find balance in that when you're dating somebody? Now sometimes you do have people you have that clinky sense, but then sometimes you do have people that are running out here doing crazy stuff.
Yes, yes.
So it's like it is difficult to find a balance in that.
Yes.
And I wonder what point do you feel safe enough to talk to somebody about this? Because once somebody knows this space about you, they can use that against you.
They can. They can. They can. So I would say, again, test the quality of the relationship. You're not finding out your attachment style, which attachment style, because I know Ro and I are talking about it, is basically like, how do I relate to other people? What type of attachments do I form? That's how you define your attachment style. You can Google a quiz. But yes, some people can be out here, doing whatever. The way you feel safe is like, okay, do I value this relationship? Do I want to remain in this relationship? If so, I need to figure out who I am. I'm not figuring out my attachment style for Rose's benefit. I'm not figuring out my attachment style for my boyfriend's benefit. I'm figuring it out for my benefit because I lack peace. I have no joy in my life. I'm anxious all the time. This is about me. You're not figuring out your attachment style so that you can only be a better partner. You need the first relationship you're in with yourself. I need to be okay with Mila. Mila all over the place. This ain't about bro. This is about me. So that's why you figure it out.
No, that's good. That's really good. It's about loving yourself. And I think when you do it for the wrong reasons, you can get discouraged if you don't get the results from that person that you want.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's just a big one right there. I see so many relationships that had so much potential fall to the wayside because people don't want to take ownership on who they are. I think that's one of the most difficult things in life is to look in the mirror and be able to say, I am wrong right here.
Yes.
And I've been wrong for a long time.
Yes.
And when you look back over your life, even like I said, back to childhood, you can really get a feel for how many things you disrupted.
Yes, yes. And it's not everybody else's fault. And I think the biggest way, if you are somebody that suffers from anxiety, if you're watching this and you struggle with anxiety or depression or whatever, I think the biggest thing that stands between you and your healing and being set free and living a life of peace and joy is you taking accountability for yourself. It's not everybody else's fault. If they did this differently, then I would, no. If she didn't say this, no. How do you control your own self? This is about you. This is about your relationship with yourself. This ain't about nobody else. So that whole idea, if you're trying to get freedom, if you want to thrive, if you want to live a life of peace and joy, how does Mila need to start taking accountability for Mila? What does Mila do that's wrong in these relationships that she needs to change? Because this is a decision I'm making. These are choices.
Right. And then something else that I hear people say a lot is they say, I always attract the same kind of person.
That's because you remain the same kind of person.
And I try to let people know this is something I had to learn. It's like when you put a light on your porch, it attracts all kinds of bugs.
Right.
Some of the bugs sting and some of the bugs don't bite at all.
Right.
But it attracts it all.
Right.
So we all have a certain level of light. Well, I hope so. But, you're going to attract different kind of people. I think the right question is, why do I entertain?
Yes.
Why did this person make it to the second date?
Yes.
Why did this person make it to the second phone call when I saw that this wasn't going to be well for me?
Yes.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And a lot of times, I mean, I hear women all the time. Okay, I know you a godly woman.
Yes, ma'am.
So, you and I, we view the world kind of differently.
For
If
sure.
I go out on a date with a guy, you go out on a date with a guy, and he says that he doesn't ever want to get married, we
Why are we here?
already know that it's not going to make sense for us to proceed in a relationship with him because we believe who he is.
Yes. Yes.
And I see
yes.
a lot of people that do that.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And the first question is, why did you entertain that any further?
Yes.
And before I dig into it, what do you think a person would entertain and lower their standards for someone for?
So again, if we am I answering this from an anxiety perspective?
Whatever perspective you want
Okay,
to.
so again, if you're an anxious person and you struggle with anxious thoughts, a lot of what you feel is the desire to be wanted, the desire to be needed, and you fear rejection. So if you entertain somebody that from the jump you know that they are not necessarily what you need or want, you're actually, and this may be jarring, but I promise you do the research on your own heart and you'll figure it out to be true. You're actually trying to convince them to want you back. I want to show you that you need me so much because that heals, that soothes my anxiety. You see what I'm saying? Like if I'm afraid that I'm going to be rejected, and the way that I show up in relationships is trying to be needed so I don't be rejected. I'm them red flags. You seen that meme? Red flags look like Six Flags. It looks like enjoyment. It looks like I'm about to do whatever to show you, to prove to myself that I'm worthy, to prove to myself that I can change him. You can't. You can't. So when it comes to relationships, and you're not necessarily lowering your standards, them high standards you think you have just only exist in your mind. They not even real.
It's the wildest thing though because I just see it all the time. And another thing that I see is how people don't feel like their feelings are important.
Mm-hmm.
Some people I've noticed with the avoidant
Yes.
attachment styles,
Yes.
they will avoid any kind of altercation of something wrong. Have you guys, and it's one thing to feel like you want to always be a positive person, but it's another thing when you are willing to overlook major conflict
Yes.
just because you want to keep it in a positive zone.
Yes.
Some people avoid that conflict, and you hear that said all the time until you see that thing in motion.
Yes.
Some people will literally, okay, they may be sitting down. You don't even like the food, and you will sit there and try to eat the food because you say things like, I don't want to be a complainer.
Uh-huh.
That is very interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
And that leads to a life that's really not.
That's not even what you want. And then you end up, but if you are an avoidant person, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna figure out a way. It's not even that I don't like conflict. I don't like entertaining my emotions. I don't like engaging with my emotions. So I'm avoiding them so I can pretend like those negative emotions aren't there. Again, the body only allows you to put up a facade for so long. So I could be an avoidant. I'm like, I'm not gonna say nothing. I'm not gonna say nothing. Bro, how many times have you not said nothing and then blown up? Because eventually you got fed up, right? It's like, well, I ain't saying nothing for the last 6 months, and now you snap, and it's like, you could have told me this 6 months ago.
Right. Now, another question that I have is how lonely do you feel with dealing with this sort of disorder? Like,
Yeah.
do you ever find that you feel lonely, or do you have people that you are able to talk to that go through the same thing?
Right. So one thing about generalized anxiety disorder, which basically means like I'm generally an anxious person, it can be healed. So it's not something you have to live with forever. If you engage in a treatment plan, you're not walking around anxious forever. But sometimes do I feel lonely? Sure. But the more I actually, again, I'm a very transparent, I'm an open book. I actually find that there are so many more women, so many more men also, so many more men that are dealing with it as well. But we haven't been taught to recognize it as anxiety. We've been like, oh, just thug it out. Girl, you just stressed, just go to bed. Just go hit a, get a drink, go to the bar with your friends. A lot of us probably are dealing with anxiety, but we have not been given the space and room to acknowledge it. And if you aren't given the space and room to acknowledge it, how are you ever going to heal it?
Yeah, that's true. Now, for you with your treatment plan,
Yes.
have you seen results with yourself?
Woo! Absolutely. Absolutely. Me and, a few of my friends, Courtney and Najana, we've been talking about it a lot. Like, man, a year ago, I would have been freaking out about this. But, a therapist will give you tools of like, okay, this is how you reframe. Example, if I'm really anxious because somebody didn't call me back, Now I'm creating a storyline in my mind that they didn't call me back because they're with another woman. They don't want me. And my therapist will teach, she'll teach you what in reality is even supporting that thought. Why couldn't he have been asleep? Why couldn't he have been busy? Why couldn't he have done these things? And the process of reframing your thoughts so that it doesn't automatically go to the negative, but stays in reality and or promotes the positive, then it's like, oh wow, I'm not even, bro, my anxiety in July of 2020 was at a 15. Right now, probably like a 2. 100%. Probably like a 2. And it was to the point where my therapist was like, you're good enough. You don't need this.
You probably don't need to come here.
You don't. She was like, you're at a place where you can finally be released because you've done the hard work of recognizing anxiety and calming it down.
Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. We have a comment from the audience. Hey Monique, it is so good to see you. And Monique, thank you for all the people that you send my way and all the customers that you send my way. But Monique is saying that our culture doesn't allow for it to bother you or for you to get counseling.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to make counseling not so taboo.
You are absolutely
And Monique,
right.
you're right. And I feel like people really are afraid to get this help. But I will say this, with you talking about that treatment plan and it helping, and I know because I have been there myself.
Uh-huh.
So I know, and I'm gonna tell y'all, just to really relate to some people that's watching. I come from Southeast DC. And where I came
Right.
from, sometimes, and I'm not making my story worse than yours. But sometimes I would come home. I remember one day I came home and it was a dude getting stabbed up. I had to walk past somebody getting stabbed up just to get to the door.
Right.
So that's one of so many stories. So when you have trauma like that and
Yes.
you are just, ugh, you have been through real things, seeing people get shot, you've dealt with losing a parent at a young age, or I mean, it's just so many things. Poverty, abuse, whatever your situation. People in the house smoking crack in front of you,
Yep.
saying sexual things you shouldn't have saw when you were younger. It is so many things that contribute to your anxious thoughts and the way you respond to things.
Yes, yes.
And when you can really get a clutch on how you respond when things happen,
yes.
I mean, it's an amazing thing. And for women, a lot. I hear so many men say, "Oh, she crazy.
Yeah, she's sensitive.
She this or she that." Women naturally are gonna get it a little harder because women are more emotional and we're wired different.
Right, right, right.
You agree?
Absolutely.
For men, you normally see men that are dealing with things like PTSD and stuff like that. They are men of war. They have actually been in situations where heads are getting cut off and people getting shot up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it is so. But men can do things like be raised without a mother and not realize that that's the reason why they don't know how to treat women.
Or even raised with a emotionally absent mom, and you wondering why, like, oh, I had a fairly good upbringing, but you're a womanizer because you don't realize that a part of your attachment style is manipulating women because you never received that love from women. So now you thrive off of manipulating women, making them fall in love with you, and rejecting them because from a young age you always felt rejected. You see what we saying?
Yeah, and then a question that I have too it's so many questions. Are some people just effed up?
Yes, but again, like we said, we saved, right? God can redeem anything. And we talking about, I want to touch on the trauma thing. You talked about like real trauma. A lot of our nervous systems, because of all the things that we've seen and experienced, again, the way I was raised, it was in my house, it messes with our nervous system to the point where it shows up in all of our relationships. I promise you, your boyfriend ain't the only one who, is stressed out by you. Your girlfriend's not the only person that's stressed out by you. Your teachers probably used to say stuff about you. Your homegirl used to say stuff about you. Your mother, whoever.
What are some of the things that people would say about you?
I was aggressive. Come on, bro, you know me. I was aggressive. I was mean. I was angry. I was bitter. And the thing is, they were right. But I felt so justified. So I'm like, you don't know how I was raised. You don't know what happened to me. You don't know why I have a tough exterior. If you want to seem nice, Mila, you got to make sure you're somebody I trust. I kid you not. It was one day I saw somebody that was like, you are, like, literally, she straight up, she was like, you are disgusting. Your whole attitude is pathetic. And I was so hurt. Like I was so embarrassed and I was so hurt. And I was like, oh my God, why would she say something about that about me? But she wasn't wrong. And I had to be honest with myself about that. She wasn't wrong.
Monique said, people have to be ready. I guess it does.
Yes, ma'am.
I
Yes,
think,
ma'am.
and even me watching you grow, watching you grow, Mila, I don't think that you would be able to help people in the
Mm-hmm.
capacity
Mm-hmm.
that you are able to if you hadn't been on the other side.
Absolutely.
I think
Absolutely.
that that was one of those things that you kind of had to walk through so
Absolutely.
that you can relate to people.
Absolutely.
But it is the craziest thing to me. I cannot stop saying it. Anxiety and depression has robbed and worry. Like, how many times have you just been up all night worried about something that ended up being nothing?
Right.
Or, did you ever notice that sometimes you just think the worst?
Yes.
Because what's happening is you're just playing an old situation in your mind. Like, oh my God, I remember once I had not once, more than once. Everybody knows I own hair salons, but
Right.
if somebody didn't show up for work and then their clients are coming in, I have had people that did turn out a fatality happen.
Right.
But you gotta learn how to heal from those things so that every time, if my sister say she going home and she don't call me and say she got home, she might have been drinking and fell asleep.
Right.
But I'm like,
No, oh my God, the last time this happened, blah, blah, blah. And you associate all them old emotions to every
it's
situation.
that same situation opened
Over,
again.
yes, yes.
And you
yes.
really have to calm yourself.
You got to heal it, though. Like,
Ugh.
you have to heal it. And that's the thing. So many people talk about you got to regulate your emotions. Part of telling the truth is like, I know where this comes from. And I'm ready to, like Monique said, I'm ready to heal what is wrong with me. I know why I feel abandoned. I'm ready to heal what is wrong with me. I'm gonna tell you something. You want to talk about somebody being ready? I don't know if my sister is still watching. I wasn't necessarily ready to deal with my mess. She told me you need to figure whatever is going on with you out. You have a problem. You keep calling me with the same issue. Get over it. And my feelings were so hurt. Like I was like, why would she ever say that to me? And I was like, oh my God, why can't I get over it? What is this? And I just cried and cried and cried. And I was like, I need help because I don't know how to get over it. But I know I'm tired of living like this. I'm tired of having uh not being able to sleep at night because my mind is running crazy. I'm tired of thinking the worst about everybody and everything. I'm tired of going to the negative all the time. I'm tired of walking around angry, bitter, and confused. And then that's when I realized, okay, so I feel this way because I never felt loved then. I feel this way. I show up angry and bitter because I am angry and bitter, but I'm angry about something that happened when I was 6. And I make that everybody else's problem. I make that everybody else's responsibility. So that idea of we just carry it with us, we just carry it with us, and everybody's teaching us how to manage it. Nobody's teaching us to actually heal it. Nobody's encouraging us that. And if somebody in your life is telling you to do that, that's love. It may not feel like love, but if somebody is like, bro, you've been complaining about this same thing for 20 years, baby girl, I love you, but you need to heal it. Dig it up. Figure out what it is. Because if I'm tired of hearing it, you gotta be tired of living with it. You gotta be.
And I think that when people can remember things over and over again and you can keep replaying it in your mind, oftentimes it's some unforgiveness there.
Oh, yes, man.
Unforgiveness is so big and it really, oh God, it sits inside of you and it grows like weeds all on your insides. And you cannot blame. I know you might have been through things with your parents, you might have gone through traumatic experiences, but you can't keep blaming people
Right.
for what you have going on. I mean,
Yes.
it's not, it may be their fault in your mind, but for whatever reason, God allowed you to go through that. And it's up to you to turn it around because I have seen people come from some horrific living situations and they are flourishing.
Yes.
So on the flyer, we talked about flourishing.
Yes, ma'am.
What's your definition of flourishing?
Living a life of abundant joy, peace, and freedom.
How many people do you think actually are flourishing in life? I'm going to tell y'all in a second a study that I read up on, a psychological study that was done. It was conducted in different countries. And it talked about how many people in the U.S. are flourishing. And it also talked about the countries where people are they have the highest percentages of flourishing.
Mm-hmm.
So in the United States, what percentage of people do you think are flourishing?
3%.
Did y'all hear that?
3.
1, 2, 3%. I believe the study said 13%.
Wow.
But either way, you are almost accurate. So 13% of our society is actually living a life that they love and are experiencing joy at the utmost levels.
Yes.
First of all, it's a possibility for everybody.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
But we talking about 13%. Now, European countries were the happiest places on earth.
Yeah, because they don't got
It was the craziest thing in the world. Crazy is just my word for the night.
Right.
Because it is crazy to me. European countries were the happiest places on earth.
Yeah.
And I just said, I wonder why that is.
Yeah, because they have vacation there and they promote rest and they promote freedom and joy. But, if we're talking about how many people, even ask your friends, think about in your own personal life, how many people you know and or related to that you feel like are actually flourishing.
I don't even think flourishing is a word in people's vocabulary.
It's not even a desire because the thing is, bro, this is me. I literally had it on my, you know how you talked about wanting to thrive? I had it on my vision board in 2020. I don't want to survive anymore. I want to thrive. And I realized, again, if we think about how we were raised, the way we came up, our families, so much about our living, we not thinking about flourishing. We're thinking about surviving. We're thinking about where our next meal's gonna come from. We're thinking about are the lights gonna be on when we get home? We're thinking about are we gonna be able to eat and not be hungry in class tomorrow? Are we gonna have enough resources to be able to make it to the end of the week? If your whole life has been built around simply surviving, how much energy do you even have left to think about dreaming, flourishing, thriving? That ain't your main goal. I'm just trying to live.
You know how many people I talk to that are just trying, and I've been there,
Yes.
that are trying to get from one day to the next.
Yes.
They are like, I know tomorrow I'm not going to have a good day because I have to work or I have to do this or I have to do that. It's like they cannot enjoy from moment to moment their lives, and it is really sad. And oh my God, I think about how many people actually go to the grave without ever living a life
of joy.
Of joy. And it is so sad to me.
Yes.
And so tell people, what are some of the things that treatment did for you? Like specifically, give people that are looking right now that may be suffering, that don't have an idea on what they need to do. What are some steps, some simple, basic steps that people can do right at home to start changing from just surviving to flourishing?
Yeah, so first thing, breathing. I don't know if you recognize this, but like there will be moments throughout the day where we're rushing, and we have not taken a deep breath. So taking intentional deep breaths until you physically feel your body calming down, meditating, journaling. I know a lot of men don't necessarily like to do that, but a lot of y'all rap, a lot of y'all write music, actually writing out your thoughts, getting them out of your head. So you don't have to ruminate, you don't have to focus on them all day long. It's like I'm gonna tell myself when I put it on the page, it's over. I had a professor and she also from DC. She was like, Mila, once you put it on the page, it left you. That really changed my life because it was like, okay, I'm carrying around hurt from 6 years old, from 16 years old. I'm telling myself once I put it on the page, it's no longer mine to carry. But also another thing is actually thinking about like understanding your thoughts. My therapist called it reframing your thoughts. A lot of times we can get in situations where we're so used to the negative that we, like you said, we apply it to absolutely every situation. So if I'm anxious and I'm like, Rose not looking me in my eye, maybe she's mad at me, maybe she's okay. Let's think about the things that actually support that. When's the last time Rose been mad at you? When is the last time she's not directly addressed it if she was having an issue? Okay, so we think about the two things that may support that idea. Ro loves me. She encourages me. She inspires me. She checks in on me. These are all the things that are true. Those two things were a lie. Okay, I need to be reminded in this moment, she loves me. Why am I thinking that why am I thinking all of a sudden that she don't want me? She is here with me. She's spending time with me. So when you start to feel anxious, like, oh, my boyfriend didn't call me back, my boyfriend loves me. He shows up for me every day. He cooks dinner. He cleans the house. Yesterday, he bought me flowers. Man, like, there are no ideas to support that thought. So if you are somebody that is anxious and you can't get a hold of it, I would really try that questioning. Like, would name at least three things that supports that.
Right?
idea.
Is this like coming from my trauma?
Yes.
Or is this coming from reality?
Is this reality?
So I think to make it plain, that is just a way right there, because we want people to have tools. We want people to see how to do it, and it's really
tools.
and it's really simple.
Yes.
Once
really
you
is.
hear it, it's
Yes.
like, and if you really use these things. So if somebody doesn't call you back, instead of the first thing you thinking, oh my God,
she's so fake.
I don't have time for this, blah blah. Won't you say to yourself, maybe this person is working, maybe they left their phone at home, maybe the phone died, maybe they are caught up in a TV show, maybe they're on a very important call, because they do have other people that are important to them, and they'll get right back to me. The ability to make yourself, positive psychology was one of the most influential classes that I ever took.
Yes.
Positive psychology is so powerful, and I challenge you guys to really look it up. Positive thinking does really change things, and it sounds so mediocre. It sounds so corny.
It's the simple things: drinking water, going for a walk, thinking of a physical activity that you could do. When I'm anxious, I have to go for a walk. I don't care if it's pouring down raining. I need to go outside just to get some fresh air. Fresh air will literally help you calm your thoughts.
Well, I got a good question. I have a good question.
Ma'am.
Let's say you are on a date at the movie theater. And you start to get anxious. It could be because of a scene on the movie.
Yeah.
It could be because something has transpired, in the movie theater, whatever. So how do you handle that? I mean, are you
here? I'm like, babe, I gotta use the bathroom. I need to get up and take care of myself. Because the thing is, if I refuse to, I'm gonna be anxious for the rest of the night. I know I need to be by myself. Babe, I gotta go to the bathroom. And you walk down, he's like, it's the middle of the movie. I know, but I gotta go. You go out there, you do your breathing. Mila, that scene is not even real. This is a movie. Don't take that personally. That don't have nothing to do with you. You're safe. You're safe. You are calm. Okay, good. You come back and you're able to resume the evening. He don't know what happened. You knew what happened. You took care of yourself in that moment. You took responsibility for yourself in that moment. And you didn't, and this is something that I struggle with in romantic relationships. I'm gonna be really transparent. I didn't make it his job to take care of me. Babe, I'm really anxious. Okay, Mila, I'm not your daddy. I love you. I'm your partner, but do you know how to take care of yourself?
I'm gonna be honest. I wouldn't, and I think all women deal with anxious thoughts at some point.
Yes.
But I'm gonna be honest. I can't see myself doing that. Like literally saying, "Hey, I'm anxious. I need you too."
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? But I will say this. I think that it's important for your partner to be attentive to the things that you say you don't like.
Absolutely.
If something is happening and I let you know that it can be harmful to me, or it makes me feel uncomfortable, or for whatever reason, dietary reasons, I can't eat this, and you keep preparing it. Long story short, it may take time, but it matters to me.
It's a show.
It matters to me how much you think about what I like.
Yes.
And how much you remember. If I'm telling you every time we ordering pizza that I don't eat tomato sauce, now I can understand in our first year of dating that may take some time to stick. But if I got to tell you that forever,
yes,
that means you don't even care.
Yes, and that's the thing. Does your partner have the capacity to care for you?
That's a good question.
That is a good question, because that's real. So again, like you said, it's like when I say making somebody responsible for caring for me, I may not explicitly say, babe, I'm feeling anxious, but I'm gonna start being like, tell me you love me. Why? I mean, I just told you I love you like an hour ago. Why you need to do that? Okay, but babe, he's like, why are you starting to whine? What's wrong? You feeling anxious? Because when you start feeling anxious, you start acting like a baby. And that's just like, oh damn! See, I knew I should have got up and went to the bathroom. I knew I should have got up and took care of myself.
And it's so interesting because men and women do it.
Yes.
I see it.
Yes.
And I think one of the worst things in the world is to see men dealing with, hey Khadijah, how you doing? That's my best friend. Shout out to Didi.
Hey Khadijah.
If the conversation has been had, your partner will or should be cognizant that you may be heading into anxiety.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And that's a good one, Didi. Didi's married, successfully for years. And long story short, you should be able to get to know your partner after some time. And even with him, a woman Let's talk about that. You should be able to see and be. It is to me, y'all. It's one of the best things in the world when a man says, "She is my peace."
Yes. Yes.
For when he's going through something, for him to know that he can be kind of settled with you,
Yes.
and that you'll understand, and that you can just make the environment more peaceful.
Yes.
I think that's one of the most amazing things, and we should have that too. Women are so
Yes.
much of nurturers
Yes.
that we don't take care of ourselves, and I like that. That's what you're saying.
Yes, yes. We need to take care of ourselves, and we also need to give room for our partners to take care of us. What you were talking about me saying, like, okay, I've named this preference to you multiple times, and it seems like you don't care or that you're not acknowledging it, but I am your peace. I make this environment peaceful for you. This relationship is actually starting to feel a little one sided. I care for you and I show up for you. Are you willing to do the same for me? Are you willing to show up for me? Because, like Dee Dee said, as you know, if a person shares enough, like, hey babe, I'm working on this thing, but that's still a trigger for me. I just need you to be a little mindful of it. If I love you, I want you to feel loved. And if you're telling me a part of you feeling love is me being mindful of your dietary restrictions, then okay, because I know that if I continue to ignore it, you're going to start to feel unloved, and then that's on me because you shared with me and I told you I had the capacity to meet your needs.
Man, it's an amazing thing. I think that when you communicate properly, like Dee Dee said,
Yes.
you cannot expect somebody to know what you need or what
Mm-hmm.
you want.
Yeah.
And if you're sitting there, I was famous for that. I would ditch a dude. Bye. Let's get the comedy now.
Right.
Bye. I mean, for real, I would fall off the face of the earth. I mean, he would do something crazy, and I'd be gone.
Right.
Instead of giving him an opportunity
To fix it.
I wasn't there. My communication skills were off, and I felt less than.
Yes.
I can remember going out on dates, and something the guy was doing made me feel so weird that I would just leave him at the table.
Oh my God, bro.
I have asked sisters to come pick me up. I'd be like, girl, I don't walked around the corner, come pick me up. Or I have done things like excuse myself to the restroom, and you see this is plural. I have done things like excuse myself to the bathroom and call me an Uber.
Oh my God.
Because I didn't drive. Because we don't give people the opportunity. Man, these conversations have to be had. Yes. If you ever, it's not even a question on if everybody has anxiety.
Yes.
Something makes everybody anxious, even if it's just somebody sitting there bothering you. Yeah, I mean, whatever that thing is, you gotta communicate.
You do. You have to communicate. You have to, again, like, be vulnerable. Because I think the way anxiety shows up for men is different. Sometimes it shows up as anger. He always mad. He always going off on a handle. Yeah, that's probably anxiety. But the way that you deal with your anxious thoughts is by cussing and crying. The way he deals with his anxious thoughts is by leaving and getting mad. Both of y'all anxious, but y'all it just displays itself differently. But again, if we love each other and we're committed to this relationship. It's different when you dating. I kind of got lower expectations for that. It's like, you don't really owe me nothing. Nah, I don't really care. You can dip out the bathroom, whatever. My car's outside. But if we're in a committed relationship, I'm going to expect you to communicate with me. Mila, I didn't like that you did that, and I need you to stop. Give me the opportunity to honor your feelings.
Now, another question that I have for you
Yes,
is,
ma'am.
how do you deal with giving people grace? Because people aren't, just because you state that that's something that you need. If you are different from the woman, or this guy's telling you something he needs and he's different from what you're used to, are we giving people the grace to grow?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think a lot of people make it through that stage.
Yeah, yeah. I think you're absolutely right about that. I mean, again, I try to think of the grace that God has given me in all the times that I've been falling short, and try to extend that grace. But also, I will be honest with a friend or otherwise and say, I feel like my grace is being abused. I feel like my compassion towards you is being abused. I'm compassionate, and but I'm not willing to make no excuses. And now, when I was younger, when I was in my teens and my early 20s, I was okay with giving and not getting anything. Like, no, I know he cussed me out, but he got a lot going on. He had a lot of trauma. Okay, so that was cute at 21. Now I'm a little bit older, and I'm like, okay, I appreciate you communicating that. I'm giving you grace, but I want you to know that I'm kind of ending the near. I'm nearing the end of my rope, and here is why. I feel like you're abusing my compassion. Can you see where I may be getting that from? I feel like I'm being so gracious towards you, but okay, are you doing anything to heal that? Are you doing anything to grow from that? Because every time you get mad at me, you cuss me out. I love you, but I want to make sure that this relationship is actually growing. And it seems like we're in the same place today that we were in 3 years ago.
Oh no.
It seems like we're in the same place today that we were in 7 months ago. What are you doing to grow? Because if the relationship ain't growing, it's dead, right?
Do you ever deal with people and I hear them say things like, "That's just how I am"?
Ooh.
That is a scary statement to me.
Yes.
I hear some people say things like, "God made me like this."
No, he didn't.
Oh my goodness.
Right.
That is
red flag.
That's a scary statement.
Yes.
And the craziest thing is I used to say it.
Oh, me too.
So we like to throw that out there. So
Yeah.
there is hope.
Right.
If that's where you are now,
Yes.
at least just give it some thought.
Yes.
God makes us a certain way, but throughout our lifetime, we are ever developing, and like Michelle Obama says, becoming.
Yes. Yes.
So you're not born
perfect.
We don't die perfect either.
Right.
But the point is, I should be able to look back at last year and see
how I've grown. Yes.
You know,
and my
what I mean?
relationships should be able to say, man, Mila, everybody that I'm close to, be like, man, you seem a lot less anxious. And I'm like, praise God, because I invested a lot of money in therapy to be a lot less anxious. They like, man, like, I can see that. Thank you. Thank you. So the work is not in vain, ever.
Yeah, and it's like, hey, Dante, what's up?
Hey, Dante.
I'm not sure I've ever seen Dante come to a show. Let me give a couple of shout outs. Anton, one of my number one fan. Anton is always in the building. My cousin Tony is watching tonight, and he is a wealth of information. Monique, thank you. Dee Dee. Dante, like I said, it's good to see you. And if you guys have questions or anything, don't hesitate. I know we're going here. But I really have a desire to see people live a life of joy and peace.
Yes, ma'am.
And I only feel that way because I personally look back over my life and I see how many years of my life was robbed with worrying. I mean, I can look back over my life and just remember
crazy.
so many nights
Yes.
where I had to drink to mask it, or I mean, I would be up all night in the bed just worried.
Yes.
About how something was going to work out. And most of the time, those things weren't even worth worrying about, or it was a possibility that never came to pass.
Yes, yes, yes.
So, you just, like Mila said, I think one of the most helpful things that you said tonight was changing your thought process.
Yes.
If you can purposely say, when things happen, okay, you get a phone call, you missed the phone call. Okay, it could be the smallest thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't know what it could be. Telling yourself, this could be a great thing.
Yes.
They could have just been calling to say hi.
Yes.
This person might not, just because they didn't call me in a week doesn't mean that they're dead.
Exactly.
Now, God forgive me, I have also seen situations where horrible things happen.
Yes, yes.
But you gotta train yourself and find that positivity inside.
Yes.
And those traumatic situations, man, I sympathize with us and other people. Because when you go through trauma and you do get those phone calls.
Yes, yes.
You have been through some things.
Like, yes, you do.
You get phone calls about family or friends, and you like, what happened?
Yes, and it's like, okay, but again, this is why we talk about how Ro talked about unforgiveness and how I talked about healing. You do not want the pain of your past to completely overrule and reign over your future.
So how did you heal? What were steps that you had to take for healing?
So I would say I started again. This is the biggest thing that I did to start healing. I started telling the truth, y'all. Like, there are things that, again, like, that happened when I was younger. Oh, that don't bother me, girl. I'm strong. I'm a bad black woman. Baby girl, you still think about that when you by yourself. You're still paranoid. You can't stay home alone. You check in 24/7. You have PTSD. It's okay to admit, to tell the truth. Okay, I know I've been saying for the last 15 years that that didn't really bother me, but that actually scared the crap out of me. It's okay for you, black girl from the hood, to say, I know I'm supposed to be strong. I know I'm supposed to be thugged out here, but that actually scared me. And I live with that fear every day. The thing that pushed me towards healing, not just managing the anxiety, because drinking, drugs, and sex help sort of to do that. But the thing that really allowed me to heal was like, okay, that hurt. That hurt. You need to, Mila, you need to admit to yourself how much that hurt you. Because you're not even going to get past the hurt if you keep denying that it was hurtful. It's okay for you to say, okay, them saying that to me or getting that phone call actually scared me. That traumatized me. And now I'm still carrying that trauma with me because I never admitted that it hurt. And if it's unforgiveness, I think that, and I used to say this all the time, I don't ever want to identify, and again, I used to be a angry woman. Okay?
What is unforgiveness? What does it look like?
Unforgiveness looks like bitterness. It literally, that's scripture. Like when you don't forget, it plants a seed of bitterness that grows a tree of bitterness that overshadows absolutely everything about you.
Well, what about people that don't even realize that they are dealing with unforgiveness?
Yes, yes.
That's it right there.
Yes, and but again, okay, so I would still take it back to being honest, right? Do I, okay, if you don't recognize that you're dealing with unforgiveness, right? How quickly do I get mad? Am I easily irritable? Am I constantly thinking about that one thing that somebody said 15 years ago that bothered me? How many times do I bring up that one situation? When I look at Ro, am I thinking about something she said when I was 9 years old that hurt me? Because if so, if the past still rings true in my mind today, if I'm thinking about something in 2021 that happened, or something from 1995 in 2021, if I'm thinking about something from 2020 in 2021, that is evidence. I have not let it go. I have not laid it down. I'm harboring unforgiveness because I'm still carrying it with me. I identified as a young woman so closely with my pain. Like, this pain is mine. So you see this bad attitude, but baby girl, like, this is survival. That's what you're seeing. I identified so closely with my pain that I didn't even want to heal. I didn't even want to let it go.
Let me send another shout out, and that's good right there. Hey, Mrs. Pope, it's good to see you. That is one of the busiest ladies on the planet, one of the wisest women on the planet. Mrs. Pope actually comes in and pours into me. Thanks for stopping by, Miss Pope. But it is just so interesting when we talk about flourishing. Until I took that positive psychology class, I had never heard people talk about flourishing in life. It is not used in the black community at all.
Not at all.
I do not ever hear people talking about desiring a life of flourishing. It is never even brought up.
Because we all trying to survive.
Everybody's just trying to deal.
Yes.
You know, and it is so sad for our community. Everybody's just trying to deal. And I think that that is a part of why we're dealing with so many people dying. Look at that 8-year-old little boy that just died, KJ. He's actually a member of my church.
Right. Wow. Wow.
You know, and, you know, I'm with the youth at my church. Right. And it is horrible.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
It is so sad how we are losing it doesn't even matter if you're young or old. Yes. But we're starting to lose babies because of angry people that aren't dealing with anger. And this is what we have to get to the root of.
Yes, yes.
I think that things like this, why isn't this taught in our schools? Why isn't this taught and brought across to our children? Yes. If we see it's such an issue, why don't they know what flourishing is? Why don't they know that that's an opportunity for them?
Yes, yes. You know, again, because even adults, right? The adults are still so focused on just surviving, doing the day to day, that they can't teach something that they ain't got. If you had a good thing, you always telling somebody about the good thing. Now that you're flourishing, you've got a whole show about it. You're teaching it. You can't teach what you don't know. Why aren't people talking about it? Because they have not yet stepped into that. If you are 40, if you 29, and you still like, man, I'm just trying to go day to day, I would challenge you to take the next 6 months of your life to address whatever it is that's hurting you. You don't got to go to therapy. You don't have to talk to your friend. Buy a journal, get a pen, write out everything that you can think of that ever hurt your feelings. from the time you were born until today. Get it out on paper so you can literally see how much you have been carrying. You can't thrive, you can't flourish if you're carrying all. You know that song, Bag Lady? Bag Lady, people run from you. People don't even want to be around you because you got the 1995 bag, you got the mom bag. What was you about to say?
No, you good. But you know what I noticed? Men are more likely to carry around things without ever acknowledging that it hurt them, and it really does them no good.
Yes,
Like,
yes,
you ever seen guys will remember things, like, men like to hit women, can make or break men. So what we say to them starting in elementary school
yeah,
goes with them, and
yeah,
it goes with us too.
yeah, yeah,
You can remember things in elementary school on the playground that were said,
yeah,
and it sticks with you,
yeah,
and it could, the things that made you feel good, you remember, and the things that made you feel terrible, planted insecurity.
yes, absolutely,
And
absolutely.
you believed it.
Yes, it's a lie you now believe.
And it sticks.
Yes.
And it haunts people up until, I mean,
Until you decide to deal with it.
oh my goodness,
Yeah.
until you can sit there and say, that wasn't true.
That wasn't true. It's a limiting belief. That's what they're called.
I didn't like when that person said that to me.
Yes.
But that wasn't true.
Yes. And now it's something that colors my day to day. If somebody walked my road and was like, girl, you you can't dress. Now anytime you don't get a compliment on your outfit, they think I can't dress.
Yeah, I need somebody to
now I need
justify
somebody to justify. Now I need somebody to heal it. Oh, they didn't. She said she didn't like my shoes, and now you hate her because you're applying pain when somebody told you couldn't dress in the 7th grade. And she's like, girl, all I said was I didn't love the shoes. Why are you so mad at me?
Yes, things that trigger you though, and I think that we all should take a daily inventory of that.
Yes.
When something, how you say some things just get on your nerves, or something, I challenge people because I don't want people to have that control over me, even down to road raging.
Yes.
I'm like, okay, I don't know if this person is dying of cancer.
Right.
I'm
Right.
not pissed off because
Right.
they are not going 85
Right. Right.
in the fast lane.
Right.
I really don't know what the problem is,
Right.
but why not just go around it?
Yes.
Why is it me? And the truth is, because I want them to do what I want them to do.
I'm controlling, and that's the thing. That's you hitting the nail on the
Yeah,
head.
if you got road rage issues, I can tell you right now, that's just a manifestation of other things.
It's depression. That way that literally one of the biggest ways that men express depression is through speeding and road rage. One of the biggest ways that women express depression is, or when they have road rage, they are angry about something else. And the only way that they feel comfortable with allowing it to manifest, because people don't judge them about this, is when they cussing people out in the car.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's good just to know your triggers.
Yeah.
Like, I know if I'm tired, if I'm sleepy, oh, please.
Yes.
I need to go somewhere and lay down.
Yes.
I need to get out of the way. Long story short, the point is, we're not going to make this about us.
Right.
You got to really look at yourself.
Yes.
You don't have to, but I guarantee you're not going to be able to flourish if you don't get to the rooty and tooty of what's really going on with you.
Yes.
And I love what you said tonight about how you may deal with generalized personality. What is it?
Generalized anxiety disorder.
Generalized anxiety disorder. I'm sorry, I didn't know.
It's
But
okay.
look. But it's once you're dealing with, I think they call that GAD for short.
Yeah.
So with the GAD situation, it's curable.
Yes, it literally is.
I want you guys to know, people that are dealing with anxious thoughts or just always being negative and things like that, it is a way to turn that around.
For sure.
It is curable. Sure. And in most cases, all it takes is your intentionality.
Yes.
It doesn't often require medication.
No, it doesn't. It takes an opportunity for you to hold yourself accountable. Because I could be like, I'm anxious because a Ro did this. And it's like, Mila, you anxious because you've been anxious, baby girl.
Let's talk about this.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. And I do a lot now that I'm not in therapy week after week. I do a lot of addressing myself. This is my journal. And I'm like, okay, I was feeling anxious today. What about that bothered me so much? Well, when they cut me off, it made me feel like they didn't value what I had to say, which made me feel like they didn't really value me as a person, which made me feel rejected. They asked me to stop. And I created this whole like story that really triggered me feeling rejected. I don't like feeling rejected. I don't like feeling unloved. I don't like feeling unwanted. That's not to say that that was their intention, but that's how it made me feel. Now I have the tools, like Ro was talking about. What are some practical tools to be able to calm myself down, so where I'm not my whole day is not given over to anxiety. I have an anxious moment, I address it in that moment, and I get to go about my life freely and enjoy and thrive and flourish for the rest of the day. Anxiety doesn't take over my life anymore because I gave myself the opportunity to heal it, to address it, to tell myself the truth, and to really, develop my own tools to deal with it myself rather than making it everybody else's responsibility to take care of me.
Well, Mila, I just want to say I'm sure that everything you said tonight, all the information that you gave and you being so transparent has really been amazing. And we just want to say thank you so much for coming on the show this evening.
Of course.
I have been watching you all summer and I see that there has been a lot of growth taking place.
Ma'am.
And, I see you going far with this platform, especially with your level of transparency. And I'm sure you're going to help many. So, like I said, once again, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Of course.
I'll see you guys right here next Monday at 7 p.m. Thanks for joining the show tonight.
Yeah.